So you had some nasty weather there too.
We're being live streamed. Oh my gosh. All righty. So Facebook, hi everybody. Welcome to the whatever episode of the Veterans for the Military Comedy Show. We don't keep count. Do you? Nobody does. We're doing this for you guys at home who have served our country, military and veterans, active duty, retired, wives, caregivers, nurses, doctors, first responders, and anybody who's sad. Gee, where are we going to find anybody who's sad lately? Pretty much everybody qualifies. We are doing this show and it's clean comedy. Children can watch. Even your pets will love it. Yeah. We'd love to have you come and sit down, have a seat. We've proven that if you sit closer together, the comedy is funnier. So sit real close together at home. You can see we're real close here. I'm going to keep all four of us right here on the screen. That way, I don't mess up on doing the spotlighting. We're all here the whole time. Woo! Easier for me. Easier for you. Trust me. You don't want to be there when I can't find a button, folks. Yeah. So we're here doing this comedy for you guys to laugh at home, to kick back, forget anything that's happened in your life and just have fun. All for you. And by the way, thank you for serving our country. It's very important that you get that message. We love you. We wouldn't be able to tell these jokes in English if it wasn't for you. Do you know what jokes sound like in German? You don't want to know. So a little bit about me. Yeah, I started this whole thing, but you know, I originally come from a town that nobody's heard of at all in the news lately. Portland, Oregon. Okay, maybe you have, whatever. You know, Portland is a weird town to grow up in. It was really quiet when I grew up there. I used to have to ride a really slow trolley. Young people, that's a train. All the way across town. I had to ride it really slowly to shop fast. Shoplift. Yeah. I quit doing that. I found out it was wrong. And I went back to apologize. And I said, Mr. Shopkeeper, I'm so sorry. What can I do to make it up? And he said, just don't come back. So children, don't shoplift. I'm a boomer. Some of us are. And young people, you know what that means? We're that group of people that you just want to do one curl up and die already. That one, we're not gonna. We don't go away. We stick around. Yeah, I'm not leaving. And now I live in a town called Vegas. Yeah. And some of you are out there thinking, I don't know if she lives in Vegas. She looks like she lives in a nursing home. Maybe she escaped from one. Yeah. I live in Vegas. I live independently. That means I do whatever I want, in case you didn't know. I keep turning 21. I have turned 21 so 21 times, none of your business. That's how many times. Yep. I'm winning at aging. What are you gonna do? You got no choice. You gotta win at it, right? I love messing around with numbers and confusing people how old I am with numbers. But my twin brother this last birthday, he embarrassed me so much, you guys. He came out as a 70-year-old. Now I'm busted. Now I gotta say my age. Oh man. And he's up in the Northwest. He's saying he's 70, so he's in the Northwest Territory. Maybe that makes him a Sasquatchenarian. All I can think of. I know some of you at home are going, she's adorable, honey. Just let her talk. She'll be done soon. Maybe somebody else will be funnier. I get it. By the time we get done with any show, you will have forgotten who I am. I'm fine with it. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I know you're gonna find this hard to believe, but I go by Linda Marcus Smith. And not because I'm a diva. I go by it because I'm single-handedly turning around history. That's right. You heard it here, folks. Yeah, because in history, there's been bad people with 3 names. Let's see. John Wayne Gacy, bad. John Wilkes Booth, really bad. Adolf something Hitler, he never did tell us. And of all those 3, the one that makes me the most upset is John Wilkes Booth. Because if you think about it, he was an actor and he got famous for one headshot. What are the odds? Yeah. Well, I think I'll stop right there and let some other people do comedy. So I'm going to bring up the first and only other veteran today. So we have 4 people here bringing comedy. Me, Linda Marcus Smith, David G. Scott, veteran, Bruce Lipsky, and Helene Witt. So I'll go into their individual intros as I bring them up. But first we have David G. Scott, who is a grandfather, a proud Army veteran, and a proud member of the subway. I can't ever get this right. Let me try again. Take 2. David G. Scott. He is a grandfather. He is an Army veteran, and he's a proud member of the Subway Rewards Program. Bring him up to the stage right now. David G. Scott, clean comedy. Woo! Yay.
Thank you. Yay. You give the best introductions. Thank you so much. That's wonderful. Here's a news flash. I'm old, and people occasionally ask me if I have any long-term goals. And I say, yes, my long-term goal is to have my life and my 401k. I want my last check to bounce. I've been wondering who's going to inherit my estate, such as it is. And I pretty much decided it's going to be my son. And ever since I told him, he's been raising rabbits and bringing me their fur. And I don't know what to do with my heirs. My heirs, hairs. I did not name my son David. I wish I'd named him Harley, so he could introduce himself as Harley, David's son. The other day he said to me, Dad, I'm proud of you because I heard you started listening to rap music. And I said, no. What I said was the last time I fell, I heard my hip pop. Anyway, when I was a teenager, I was in a gang. We called ourselves the Electrical Workers Union Local 412. Our gang color was bright orange, which we wore on reflective vests. Our gang symbol was the same symbol utility companies use to indicate where to install a street light. And let me tell you, our neighborhood was very well lit. I have a cousin who's an agnostic. An agnostic is someone who wakes up every morning wondering whether or not there's a God. I am more of an agnostic. I wake up every morning wondering whether or not to have an omelet. I have another cousin who's an ornithologist. His specialty is the hoot owl, but he's discovered some other rare owls. He's discovered the cute owl. Instead of going, whoo, whoo, it goes, aw, aw. Here's some interesting news. I don't know if you're aware of this. If you ask for change at the dollar store, they just give you a different dollar. Oh. Apartments aren't apart, they're together. Shouldn't they be called togetherments? I don't have any tattoos, but if I ever get one, I'd like to have a tattoo that says "Keep moving forward" in Latin. I think I'll get it on my chest. Keep moving forward in Latin. What do you call a frozen waffle on a Southern California beach? Sandy Ego.
Huh.
Yes, yes, it's true. If I only had one word to describe myself, it would be not very good at following directions. The other day, I ate an entire can of Pringles. I was very disappointed. There were only 3 of them, and they were all tennis ball flavored. Yeah. If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. I don't know how many times I say things. The other day, I found a spider in my sock drawer, which was very upsetting because it belongs in the spider drawer. Found a spider in my kitchen, but instead of killing it, I started telling it about my fantasy football team, and it left quietly on its own. When I was in high school, I dated a girl who was not voted Miss Kansas City or Miss Platte County. She was voted miscellaneous. Probably because her favorite phrase was, whatever. As I've gotten older, I've discovered I have more questions than advice. Like, exactly how dead is a doornail? Exactly how happy is a clam at high tide? Exactly how quiet is a church mouse? I don't know. And would somebody please tell me what the knights in white sat in? And what exactly is a cold-blooded killer? Someone who murders reptiles? I have questions. In nursing homes, where I perform a lot, the code word for toilet is mustard, specifically gray poupon. My phone just filmed a 3-hour documentary of life inside my pocket. I like coffee, but if I drink too much, I realize there are tiny spiders under my scalp weaving hair. Instead of going to Starbucks, I write my name on a cup, I pour the coffee, I yell my name out, and then I set a $5 bill on fire. The problem with the road less traveled is the poor cell phone reception. The other day, I helped an old woman across the street by repeatedly honking at her. Here's $1 million idea, a smoke alarm that turns itself off if you yell, "I'm just cooking." Coffee is a gateway drug. One day you're stirring a cup with a small wooden stick, and before you know it, you're paddling a kayak. Back in the day, if you were wearing a hat and a cape, you were a gentleman. Now, if you're wearing a hat and a cape, you're in a marching band. One more parting thought. If life gives you melons, you may be dyslexic. Thank you, Linda, for inviting me to be on the show. It's always a hoot. It's a hoot. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, David G. Scott, Clean Comedy. And on deck, we have Helene Witt coming to do comedy for us. But David, Where will you be performing in the next week or two?
Oh, thank you for asking. The next 2 Saturdays, I will be performing at Kansas City nursing homes in the Kansas City area. And there are 2 that I have never performed at before. So I'm really looking forward to it. The trick is having them let me leave. So I have to convince them, no, I'm just visiting.
Oh my goodness sakes. Well, thank you so much. That was wonderful. I love your comedy. Such a great example of clean comedy. Thank you, David. David G. Scott, cleancomedy.com. Book him, America.
That's right.
Now, a real treat for you, coming all the way from the East Coast. Oh my gosh. She's written jokes, been paid for them, and had them said on air on the Late Show, the Johnny Carson show. She's written jokes for Joan Rivers. She's now on a show that's a hit, Joe Firestone's show, Good Timing, that's streaming on the Peacock channel, which you can get for free, and you're going to do it exactly when you get done with this show. So bring to the stage right now the amazingly hilarious and my best friend, Helene Witt.
Yay.
Having me. I'm honored to say I had the Bob Hope guest spot a few months ago, and I take that very seriously. I'm very honored for that on this show.
Thank
And
you for doing it.
Serving your country, and Linda for serving your country. My father was a Vietnam, no, I'm not that young. My father was a World War II vet, and I just want to say something that's not a joke. Where I live now, it was built. It's the first cooperative in New York, or I don't know about anywhere, that was built just for the veterans of World War II so they could have a place to start a family. And all 9 of my father's siblings settled here. And the rocks that I have in my garden might be the same rocks that my uncle had. So I'm very proud to be a relative of a daughter of a World War II veteran. And I have a knife from the war sitting right there 5 steps from me, Dave. It's just like a samurai sword that my father brought home, I guess. I don't know. It's always been said that that was from World War II. Anyway, now I have 8 minutes left to make people laugh. Sorry, Linda.
No, so start your 10 now.
Oh, okay. I got carried away with my inspiration about being a service veteran. So, I'm getting older, and when you're on Zoom, how many hours a day, Bruce? All day long, every day for a year and a half. All I do is stare at my wrinkles, like Dave, you don't know this about me, but I have pound signs here. I have parentheses here. I have exclamation points here. I'll just lay down on the couch. You can send a text message on me. And I'll wait for you to stop laughing. That's good. Dave, not just Dave, everybody out there, we had a terrible hurricane a few years ago called Hurricane Sandy. And there was a place out of New York City called the Rockaways. They had horrific trouble. The subway train couldn't go there. I'm saying that because if they had these bags in the Rockaways during Hurricane Sandy, the F train never would have stopped running. They would have protected us from the water. Yeah, they're big bags. I mean, I'm past the information age. I'm headed for the inflammation age. I like Dave. I'm taking him to the next party. So, I'm my hair, Dave, but I know where it's going. I shouldn't just say this to Dave. Bruce, I'm losing my hair, but I know where it's going. It's going to my knuckles. So I gained a few pounds, and it reminds me of the famous singer Stevie Nicks, because when she was 25, she was the rock legend. All the girls tried to dress like her in the black flowing goth gowns, the hat, the scarves, and she had a beautiful dove tattoo, which is now a vulture. And people make fun for little Steve gaining weight and getting older, which is so unfair. And as a result, Stevie tried to diet and take drugs. She had to go to rehab, all because of the pressure of being a rock star, which had nothing to do with her singing. People are so mean. So I went to see her, and she was at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Brooklyn, New York, in the arena, the Barclays Arena. I'm saying all that so you know I'm telling you the truth. And 3 days before that, I saw her at Fleetwood Mac. What other star do you know that won and got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with two different groups? Herself, bad English,
Wow.
her solo career, and Fleetwood Mac. Anyway, out walks onto the stage a young man, maybe 12 years old, in a blue suede suit and no shirt. He was rock star Harry Styles, who's going to come to where Bruce and I lives, giant arena, big rock star. He says, I'm going to induct Stevie Nicks into the Hall of Fame. Well, I'm going to skip this part of the story for time reasons, Linda, and I'm going to tell you what happened when Stevie came to perform. So she sang Rhiannon. All the crowd was so excited. She's wearing her flowing gown and her scarves are on her microphone stand, and like they always are. And she starts to spin around and spin around and spin around. And all of a sudden she's singing Rhiannon. All of a sudden, a Roomba that was shining up the stage and holding her up comes flying out of her, off her legs, and she tripped. She grabbed onto the microphone stand, and underneath all those scarves was a life alert wire. And bands, they weren't really scarves, they were armbands. Let's not make fun of Stevie. We're all getting old. Well, I'm going to talk about being a teacher. Dave, what did you do for your career?
I was a teacher as well.
Oh, what did you teach?
I was a college professor and taught math.
Wow, I had no idea about you did
Yeah.
that. Amazing.
Scary stuff.
Wow, I admire you. I'm so bad at math. Ask Bruce, he knows it. Back to me, and Linda knows it too. Well, I wanted you to know I taught in a very tough school in New York City, the toughest school ever. I mean, when we were young, we used to carve our sweetheart's name in the desk. These carved their sweetheart's name in their sweetheart. Very tough. You know, they don't make this out of wood anymore anyway. They make them out of formica. That's why they probably carve it in them into their own. Well, this little boy, he was always grumpy. And he comes to school all cheery and happy. I said, look at you, you're in a good mood. He said, yes, I brought the word of the day and show and tell all in one. I said, what? He said, Glock, Glock. Well, he didn't shoot me and he spelled it right. So I put him in 3rd grade and I paid for him to go to college, and he studied neuroscience and basketball. You know, I have to make sure I behave myself here. I mean, the 2nd grade girl, is my time up, Linda?
No, you have 3 more minutes.
Okay, well, you know, the 2nd grade girls had a gang, and they were next door to me, David, and sadly, it's true, they had a gang. The initiation was to take the milk containers off of my girls' lunch trays. So I named them the half pints. And I made it into a lesson. I made it into a spelling and grammar lesson, a language arts lesson. True story. You know, did you ever hear of the Crips and the Bloods? You heard of them? Well, guess what? I named the gang the Prescriptions. Prescriptions, because I want my children prefixes, suffixes, and the name of the gang was right in the middle.
There you go.
Thank you for understanding that joke. I don't ever say it anymore. Now you know what. But the leader of the gang was the Dairy Queen because I didn't tell you that that the initiation. I did tell you that the initiation was to take the milk containers off of my girls' lunch trays. This is what happens when you get old. You just tell your joke again. So I named them the half pints. Well, the leader of the gang was the Dairy Queen. I'll leave it at that about the gang. Am I done, Linda?
No, you have like a minute and a half.
How unprofessional to ask Linda when we're live. I'm sorry, Linda.
No, I want you to do as much as you want to do. I don't want you to cut it short.
Oh, that's very sweet. Well, I was thinking more like getting a hook in mind. I was a school teacher and wow. I also went to Woodstock. I went to Woodstock in 1968, and then I went to Woodstock 50 years later. And they had a tent at the first Woodstock. And Bruce, let me break this down to you. Psychedelic acid was a drug back in those days. You're much younger than me. And the tent was for bad acid trips if people were going cuckoo from taking LSD. You know what the tent was for this time, Linda? Bad acid indigestion. Several people lost their wow. Sadly, 3 people lost their lives at Woodstock. This time, sadly, 300 people lost their dentures at Woodstock. And when they found dentures, they shipped them to the people and they got them all mixed up and people had the wrong dentures. Well, that was my untyped set, but I hope it was funny just the same. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
It was super hilarious. Are you kidding me? Helene Witt can read us the phone book and we'll laugh. Oh my gosh. She's got the comedy chops of a champ. Helene, tell everybody at home, all 3 million of them, where you'll be performing in the next week or two. Anything you want us to know?
Well, I'm going to Carol Newell's show in a few days. She'll have that on the Best Laugh on Facebook. You can see it, The Best Laugh. And then I'll be at Gladys Simon's room on Wednesday on Zoom. You could look up Jean Kim and she'll tell you all about that on Facebook, Jean Kim.
Absolutely. Those are great shows.
And I'm going to watch the AHA Broadway graduation if all goes well tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern. You could all watch that. That's going to be a good show.
Always a good show. Great comics coming out of there. ahabroadway.org, I think it is.
Yes.
So our last comedian of the time here today is a personal friend, a mensch of a guy, always positive. He's like our dad in the comedy world. He, not in age, he just is wise and has advice and keeps us all level and calm. And let me read you the intro. After a 35-year career in fitness and wellness field, Bruce is well positioned to know that laughter really is the best medicine. Bruce's stand-up has been seen at Dangerfields, the Broadway Comedy Club, Greenwich Village Comedy Club, and the Comic Strip Live in New York City, as well as the Governor's, the Brokerage, and my father's place on Long Island. Let's give it up for our Bob Hope guest spot of the day, the very wonderfully funny and nice man, mensch of a guy, like I told you. Did I mention a mensch of a guy? Bruce Lipsky.
Hey, thank you, Linda. I couldn't have said it better myself. I guess I wrote it. I just thought of this, David. You said you were a college professor. I had a dentist who originally was a college professor. Every time I had work done, he'd want to give me a square root canal. Not bad. I made that up about 2 minutes ago. I know, anybody who had elderly parents, I just got a call from my 87-year-old dad. And he said, Bruce, guess what? He just opened a new comedy club in my neighborhood. I said, that's fantastic, Dad. What's it called? He said, stand-up MRI. I said, Dad, did you check it out? He said, yeah, they wouldn't let me in. They didn't have a prescription. But he said, I did call them up, and the good news is there's no cover charge. But there is a 2 copay minimum.
Yeah.
Well, sounds like a great club. But I was really worried about my dad because I think he's starting to lose it a little bit. So I had to take him to the hospital recently for some tests. So we're in the elevator, and this technician wheels in this machine with all these tubes and hoses. And my father looks at him and says, Mister, I hope you're not going to hook me up to that machine today, are you? The guy says, I hope not for your sake. It's a carpet cleaner. But after the restaurant, after the hospital, I always like to take my parents to their favorite restaurant, which is Friendly's. Friendly's. But there's never anything friendly when my parents go out to eat. They're lukewarm at best, you know. They don't go out to eat, they go out to complain. So we're sitting down, my mother calls over the manager, she says, Mister, it's bad enough my eggs are runny and my toast is burnt. How come you don't serve coffee in those nice brown Friendly mugs anymore? The manager said, lady, we had to stop because people kept on stealing them. My mother says, oh my God, what a tragedy. This is awful. I only needed one more to complete my set. Now I have a mother with a mug shot for being a mug thief. But, you know, it's hard taking to restaurants. Restaurants are starting to do Yelp reviews of my parents now. That's how bad this is. And it was their anniversary, so I figured I'd take them out to a very special, fancy restaurant. So we're at the restaurant, and right away my mother starts to complain again. She says, Bruce, this soup is tasteless. It's cold. It's disgusting. I said, Ma, that's the finger bowl. And when she got her meal, she started to eat. She slammed down her fork and said, Bruce, this is the worst Greek salad I've ever eaten. I said, Ma, how many times do I tell you, you don't order a Greek salad in a Chinese restaurant? And I'm really starting to worry I'm going to turn into my parents. And I just turned 65. And I looked in the mirror the other day. I look like a rusted old Buick. His body is totally shot out of alignment. My rear end is making funny sounds. My hoses are leaking. And my ball joints have all dried out. I said, oh, I better get Mako. Mako says, oh, no, you better get Medicare. So I was at my doctor. I said, doctor, I'm starting to feel sluggish in the morning. What's going on? I put some weight on in the middle. He says, oh, boy, Bruce, I think you may have the furniture disease. I said, what's that? He said, that's when your chest is falling into your drawers. I remember in my house, it used to be if I had a leak, I would call my plumber. Now I call my urologist. And he's $50 cheaper. I remember that back in the day, back in the mid-70s, late 70s, I used to go to Studio 54 in Manhattan. I'd walk across that floor, meet a woman like Helene, and we'd go bust a move. Now I'm afraid to take my wife dancing. I may bust a hip. My wife said to me, Bruce, let's do the hustle. Every time she says that, I'm afraid I'm going to pull a muscle. My wife said, Bruce, let's get down tonight. I said, honey, I don't mind getting down, but how the hell am I going to get up?
That's right.
And I'm starting to forget things. I swear my foam mattress has a better memory than I do. And you can probably understand this, David. At one point, I had a full head of hair. In order to keep my hair stiff, I used to use a product called Vitalis. Now, if I want to keep things stiff, I depend on Cialis. And I was also a photography buff back in the day. I used to develop film using my Polaroid. Now at 65, the only thing I'm developing are hemorrhoids.
Yeah, yeah.
You can understand that, right? You can understand that. And you know you're getting old, David, when you're spending all your disposable income on disposable diapers. And, you know, I used to be a world traveler. Now I don't do that anymore because I only travel incontinent. But it's great getting old. I don't mind getting old because I remember back in the day, I used to be part of the in crowd. Now I'm part of the incontinent crowd.
Yeah.
But it's all good. It's all good because when you get older, you got to stay in shape. You got to start exercising. I started a new exercise program. My wife actually has me doing the Ironman training. I'm getting up at 5 in the morning every day. I'm up to 8 a day now. That includes starch, cuffs, and collars. No, but seriously, I do have an exercise program, but I don't exercise late at night between the hours of 3 and 5 in the morning. I run sprints from the bedroom to the bathroom. My wife calls it my fleet of pee. I guess the good news is I got my time down under 6 seconds. But unfortunately, I only can hold my pee for 4.2. And you know, when you do get older, I start to worry. I think people are trying to take advantage of you. I brought my vehicle in the other day for some service. He gave me a $1,200 bill. He said, Bruce, I replaced 4 tires. I recharged the air conditioner and recalibrated the airbags. I said, this is impossible. This is all wrong. He says, why? I told him I drive a motorcycle. Not ripping me off anymore, that's for sure. But I hardly talk about him, but I have a son. I have one son, he's 26 years old now. I remember when he was 13 years old, I caught him playing with a deck of cards with naked women on them. I said, what kind of games do you play with that? He said, lots of solitaire. But fast forward, he's in college and he's studying art. He's really an accomplished cartoonist, but lately he's been shirking his responsibilities. And I got a letter from the school saying if he doesn't get his act together, they're going to put him in suspended animation. But he's also into fitness like me. He likes to jog and everything. So he came home the other day and he was all sweaty with his exercise clothes. He said, Dad, I need these clothes washed right away. I said, do it yourself. He said, Dad, I know we have a new wash machine. What do I set the machine on? I said, what does it say in your sweatshirt? He looked down and said, Nike. That's the genius I'm handling with over here. But as I said before, I didn't say it before, I'm married 30 years. I just celebrated 30 years of wedded bliss. Oh, no, wedded blisters. Because all these years she's been rubbing me the wrong way. And I got the calluses to prove it. And she's a lovely lady. And she's into health foods and everything. She sent me to the store the other day. She said, Bruce, I want you to buy some organic produce. And so I went to the store. I never bought any organic vegetables or anything. So I asked the produce manager, how can I tell which ones are organic? He said, if they're half the size and twice the price, they're organic. I said, I understand that now. I drive one of those. It's called a Prius. So she wanted me to buy some organic kale. I'd never bought kale before. So I said to my guy at the produce place, what's kale? I don't even know what kale is. He said, kale is part of the lettuce family. It's like lettuce's bitter cousin. I said, I understand that right now. That's like my 40-year-old aunt who's been divorced 3 times. She's bitter. She's kale. No recipe ends well in the first ingredient. It's kale. The only problem with kale is it tastes like kale. Thank you. The whole thing with kale, though, too, kale is now what they call a superfood. Growing up, guys, we didn't have superfoods. We just had food, But to me, kale is like my kryptonite. Superman can leap tall buildings in a single bound. Kale will clean out my colon in a single serving. But, as I said, I feel bad for my wife. Just more things. She really tries hard. She thinks everybody in the family is a food critic. Go spend an hour on the internet looking for a recipe, another hour shopping, and a third hour cooking. And in 30 seconds, my son will say, you're cooking that crappy chicken again? And so she said to me, Bruce, you think I'm running this house my kitchen like a 5-star restaurant? I said, apparently you are, because every time you cook, I have reservations. Thank you. My name is Bruce Lipsky. I appreciate you listening.
Yay, Bruce. Bruce Lipsky, everybody. Bruce, tell everybody where you're going to be performing. Go ahead and go through the litany of where all you'll be.
Not so much. Tonight I'm on No Line to Cross with Jerry Hodges. Tomorrow, as Helene would say, we're on Carol Newell, the world's best laugh comedy show. Wednesday, I'm on the Ye Old Mike. I have a couple other things coming. I have a live show December 1st. I'll be at Sender's Smoke Joint. I was there last month, and Helene was with me as well. It's part of Hanukkah. It's a Hanukkah celebration, so I'm honored to be back there. And it's going well. I've had a bunch of live shows in the last couple of weeks, and I performed with Helene as well this past week on Wednesday. The Snap was a great show. So things are good. Things are good.
Good.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bruce Lipsky. Everybody at home, I appreciate your watching these videos. Love to have you click share so other veterans and military can watch them as well. And so I'm going to take this off Facebook Live right now. And thank you again, everybody at home. We love you and thanks again for serving.